The world of modern technology and global celebrity culture has long since moved past simple endorsements and standard commercial partnerships, morphing instead into a deeply interconnected web where a single social media post can spark a massive cultural firestorm or permanently shift consumer behavior across the globe. For over a decade, we have watched the rise of digital influencers who command the attention of tens of millions of people with nothing more than a casual snapshot or a brief video clip, creating an unprecedented dynamic where personal lifestyle becomes the ultimate commodity. This digital ecosystem thrives on a careful balance of aspirational luxury and accessible intimacy, leading everyday viewers to feel as though they are participating in the daily lives of the rich and famous, while simultaneously serving as the primary demographic for massive corporate rollouts. At the very center of this phenomenon sits a select group of high-profile individuals whose names alone are worth billions of dollars in market equity, capable of turning an obscure fashion trend or a niche beauty concept into a global obsession overnight. When these individuals align themselves with massive Silicon Valley tech conglomerates, the resulting synergy is typically expected to break the internet in the most profitable way imaginable, fusing the cutting-edge appeal of futuristic innovation with the undeniable allure of Hollywood royalty. The promise of such a pairing lies in its ability to normalize complex, unfamiliar technologies by wrapping them in the familiar, highly polished aesthetic of a beloved public figure, effectively transforming a sterile piece of hardware into a must-have lifestyle accessory. However, this delicate illusion relies entirely on the assumption that the public will blindly accept whatever product is placed before them, trusting the curated recommendation of an icon rather than examining the deeper, more unsettling implications of the technology itself. As our daily routines become increasingly digitized, society has begun to develop a distinct undercurrent of exhaustion and skepticism toward the relentless push for total connectivity, creating a quiet tension that remains largely unnoticed by major corporate marketing divisions. This growing divide between the hyper-connected tech elites and an increasingly weary public sets the stage for unexpected collisions, where a seemingly routine promotional campaign can suddenly pull back the curtain on deep-seated societal anxieties regarding ownership, personal space, and the rapidly dissolving boundaries of our shared reality. The atmosphere surrounding these major product launches is typically one of carefully manufactured excitement, meticulously designed by public relations experts to ensure maximum positive engagement and a flawless narrative of continuous progress. Yet beneath the glittering surface of high-definition promotional videos and perfectly lit promotional photography, a different kind of conversation has been quietly brewing among ordinary citizens who are beginning to question the true cost of convenience in the modern age. Every new device introduced to the marketplace promises to make our lives easier, more streamlined, and more deeply integrated with the digital world. But rarely do we pause to consider what we are giving up in exchange for these seamless experiences. It is within this precise cultural climate that a major new collaborative effort was recently unveiled to the public, blending the massive cultural footprint of one of the world's most recognizable reality, television, and business icons with the immense engineering power of a leading social media giant. The initial anticipation surrounding the project was palpable, with industry insiders predicting a massive commercial triumph that would comfortably bridge the gap between high fashion and advanced artificial intelligence. To ensure you never miss an update on how this massive story unfolds and to stay informed on the deepest shifts in celebrity culture and emerging technology, take a moment right now to subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you are always the first to know when the next chapter drops. The rollout began exactly as anyone familiar with modern digital marketing would expect, utilizing a strategically timed sequence of multimedia advertisements designed to capture the immediate attention of a generation that consumes content at an astonishingly rapid pace. The imagery was flawless, the lighting was pristine, and the central figure exuded the exact brand of effortless confidence that has defined her career since she first stepped into the public eye as a child. Viewers were invited to imagine a world where the boundaries between their physical surroundings and their digital identities were completely erased, offering a tantalizing glimpse into a lifestyle defined by constant, hands-free capturing of every passing moment. It was framed as the ultimate evolution of personal expression, a tool that would allow ordinary individuals to document their lives with the same cinematic flair and effortless ease as a multi-millionaire influencer. For a few brief hours, the corporate narrative remained completely unchallenged, coasting on the momentum of sheer celebrity star power and the glossy appeal of a beautifully produced ad campaign. But as the images circulated further into the digital ether, reaching beyond the core fan base and into the wider, more critical landscape of the general public, the tone of the conversation began to experience a swift and incredibly sharp deviation. What was intended to be a celebration of groundbreaking innovation quickly began to look like a lightning rod for a massive wave of collective frustration, catching both the corporate executives and the celebrity face of the campaign completely off guard. The immediate response did not consist of the usual praise, celebratory emojis, or declarations of intent to purchase that typically flood the comment sections of high-profile product announcements. Instead, a collective sense of profound unease and intense pushback began to materialize across multiple online platforms, rapidly overshadowing the carefully curated marketing copy and signaling a dramatic disconnect between the creators of the product and the audience they expected to eagerly embrace it. The sheer speed with which the public mood shifted sent shockwaves through the digital space, proving that even the most powerful personal brands are not entirely immune to the shifting tides of public sentiment when it comes to deeply sensitive cultural boundaries. This sudden friction highlights a growing collective awareness that our relationship with technology may be reaching a critical breaking point, where the glamour of a famous name is no longer sufficient to mask the deeply complicated realities of the devices we are being asked to welcome into our most personal, everyday spaces. The illusion of a flawless product rollout was permanently shattered the moment the digital public began to look past the glamorous aesthetic of the promotional material and focus directly on the specific mechanics of the newly introduced hardware. At the center of the controversy is the Meta Starfire Kylie Edition AI glasses, a wearable technology accessory that carries a starting price tag of $399. The device boasts an array of advanced features designed to appeal to a tech-savvy, highly connected demographic, including an ultra-high-definition camera seamlessly embedded into the frame, hands-free voice controls, and an integrated artificial intelligence system that speaks entirely in the voice of Kylie Jenner herself. On paper, the partnership seemed like a marketing masterpiece, blending the cutting-edge appeal of augmented reality with the immense personal brand of a celebrity who boasts hundreds of millions of dedicated followers. The marketing strategy explicitly encouraged users to capture photos and record high-quality videos directly from their own perspective without ever needing to lift a smartphone, framing the experience as the ultimate form of authentic, unhindered content creation. However, the immediate backlash that erupted across social media platforms quickly revealed that what corporate executives viewed as seamless convenience, a significant portion of the public viewed as a direct, deeply invasive threat to basic human privacy. The official Instagram announcement, shared jointly by Meta and Kylie Jenner to introduce the collaborative tech accessory, quickly transformed from a commercial showcase into a virtual battleground filled with thousands of fiercely critical messages. Instead of fans celebrating the high-tech venture, the comment section was rapidly overwhelmed by a massive wave of collective anger, with users directly confronting the reality star and the tech giant over the real-world safety implications of mass-market surveillance tools disguised as trendy lifestyle fashion. The criticism was notable not just for its immense volume, but for the specific highly charged nature of the anxieties being expressed by ordinary people who felt that a dangerous line had been crossed in the name of corporate profit. A prominent journalist explicitly voiced this sentiment on the platform, leaving a highly visible comment that pointedly asked why these major corporations are pushing surveillance technology so hard upon the general population. This single question seemed to unlock a dam of built-up frustration, inspiring countless others to echo the sentiment and break down the exact reasons why the concept of hidden wearable cameras feels so inherently predatory to the average citizen. Another commenter wrote a deeply sarcastic response that directly addressed the influencer, mocking the idea that she was helping to support a literal surveillance state by encouraging constant monitoring and providing potential creeps with a tool to easily invade the privacy of unsuspecting women and children. This individual went on to bitterly note that such a societal shift would likely never affect the mega-wealthy celebrity anyway, given her high-level personal security details and insulated lifestyle, which stands in stark contrast to the vulnerable public spaces that ordinary citizens must navigate every single day. The conversation grew increasingly tense as users began to openly discuss how the widespread adoption of such devices would permanently alter public trust and safety, particularly for women and girls who already face persistent challenges regarding non-consensual photography and harassment. One widely shared comment took an incredibly aggressive stance on self-defense and personal property, declaring that if someone attempts to film a person without their explicit consent using these mass surveillance glasses, the victim should be legally allowed to physically punch the photographer in the face and break their camera on the spot. This intense rhetoric reflected a deeper systemic panic over the total erosion of the right to exist in a public space without being secretly recorded, cataloged, and digitized by a stranger wearing an inconspicuous pair of everyday eyeglasses. The criticism did not stop at theoretical privacy concerns, as many users began to point out the blatant hypocrisies displayed by top-tier Hollywood celebrities who routinely demand total privacy from the paparazzi while simultaneously weaponizing the exact same intrusive recording technologies against the pupil for a massive corporate paycheck. Commenters noted the grim irony that these exact same famous figures will undoubtedly expect the public to feel immense sympathy for them the moment a photographer or an overzealous group of fans invades their personal boundaries. Yet they see absolutely no ethical issue with normalizing stalker-friendly tech glasses for the masses. The ethical responsibility of corporate marketers was also thrown into sharp question, with several users wondering aloud when the advertising industry completely abandoned its moral guidelines to make non-consensual recording seem fashionable and desirable to young consumers. The sentiment that any camera which does not clearly and unmistakably look like a camera should probably be illegal began to resonate deeply across the platform, highlighting a massive, irreconcilable gap between the Silicon Valley vision of an augmented reality future and the grounded reality of human safety. As the wave of negative feedback continued to swell into a full-scale public relations disaster, the story began to break out of the social media ecosystem and catch the attention of major mainstream media outlets, transforming the launch from a routine celebrity endorsement into a significant cultural flashpoint regarding the ethics of artificial intelligence and wearable tech. Independent tech reviewers, cultural commentators, and investigative journalists quickly began digging into the partnership, trying to understand how a product with such obvious, glaring privacy flaws could pass through multiple rounds of corporate approval without anyone stopping to consider the inevitable public outrage. The situation escalated to the point where prominent digital publication BuzzFeed officially reached out directly to both Kylie Jenner's personal publicity team and the corporate communications office at Meta, formally requesting an official statement or comment regarding the intense, widespread backlash and the severe accusations being leveled against the product by the public. The silence from both camps in the immediate aftermath of the inquiries only served to heighten the prevailing tension, leaving the audience to dissect the controversial launch without any corporate damage control to smooth over the rough edges. This profound silence created a vacuum that was quickly filled by a deeper analysis of how modern consumer technology has slowly and quietly chipped away at our collective boundaries, using the sparkling veneer of high fashion and elite celebrity status to slip increasingly invasive surveillance mechanisms into our homes, our workplaces, and our shared public squares. The tension between the desire for continuous digital documentation and the fundamental human right to privacy had finally found its perfect high-profile battlefield, leaving the entire tech and entertainment industries to watch anxiously as one of the world's most bankable stars faced a rare, unyielding wall of public resistance that no amount of smooth marketing could easily dismantle. The total breakdown of communication between the promoters of the Meta Starfire glasses and the millions of ordinary citizens voicing their fears underscores a much larger, structural shift in how society views the continuous march of technological integration. For many years, tech companies operated under the assumption that any product wrapped in a sufficiently sleek design and backed by the immense social capital of a premier influencer would automatically achieve widespread market acceptance. This formula proved incredibly successful during the initial smartphone and social media boom, where the promise of instant connection and global reach easily outweighed the quiet, early warnings of digital privacy advocates. However, the unexpected cultural wall that this specific collaboration crashed into suggests that the public has developed a sophisticated level of technological fatigue, realizing that every step toward a totally hands-free, automated lifestyle requires the surrender of yet another layer of personal autonomy. The core issue goes far beyond the simple presence of a tiny high-definition camera lens embedded within a pair of fashion-forward frames. It touches upon the fundamental concept of basic human consent within shared environments. When individuals step into a public square, a public park, a restaurant, or a retail establishment, they do so with a reasonable expectation of relative anonymity, assuming that while they may be seen by passers-by, their exact movements, conversations, and facial expressions are not being secretly recorded, permanently stored, and analyzed by an artificial intelligence network. The introduction of mass-market smart glasses directly threatens to shatter this invisible social contract, turning every single consumer into a potential roaming surveillance agent who can capture the private moments of total strangers without a single visible indicator or warning light. This reality is particularly terrifying for vulnerable groups who already navigate public spaces with a heightened sense of caution, knowing that the democratization of undetectable recording tools will inevitably be weaponized by bad actors, stalkers, and voyeurs. The cultural history of wearable technology is littered with similar cautionary tales, most notably the early attempts by other tech giants over a decade ago to introduce heads-up display glasses equipped with front-facing cameras. Those initial iterations failed spectacularly because the general public immediately rejected the social friction they caused, famously labeling users of the devices with derogatory terms and actively banning the hardware from bars, theaters, and private businesses. Yet, instead of learning from these historical missteps and respecting the boundaries established by consumer behavior, modern tech developers simply assume that the passage of time, combined with the extreme optimization of artificial intelligence and the unmatched power of celebrity worship, would be enough to break down public resistance. The decision to utilize Kylie Jenner as the primary vessel for this rollout represents a calculated gamble that completely underestimated the intelligence and growing skepticism of the modern consumer base. While her personal journey from a reality television teenager to a powerful corporate executive and beauty mogul has been heavily documented and widely celebrated by fans, her lifestyle remains fundamentally detached from the daily realities of the average person. She moves through the world surrounded by private security teams, traveling in private transportation, and living within heavily fortified private estates where her personal privacy is meticulously protected by legal non-disclosure agreements and physical barriers. For a figure existing in such a highly insulated environment to lecture the broader public on the trendy convenience of wearing non-consensual recording devices in everyday public spaces felt like a profound betrayal of ethical responsibility to her audience. This sharp disconnect explains why the backlash grew so intensely personal, with commenters moving past critiques of the tech itself to openly question the morality of using one's immense cultural platform to normalize tools that actively endanger the privacy of ordinary women and children. The situation serves as a stark reminder that influence is not a blank check. It is a fragile relationship built on a perceived sense of authentic connection. And when an influencer promotes something that feels genuinely harmful or predatory to their own audience, that relationship can fracture with terrifying speed. The silence from Meta and the Jenner camp following the widespread demands for accountability speaks volumes about the precarious position they now find themselves in, as any official response risks drawing even more mainstream attention to the severe ethical flaws of the product. If they defend the glasses as a harmless tool for content creation, they appear completely tone-deaf to the very real dangers of non-consensual surveillance. If they pull back the campaign, they admit defeat and jeopardize a multi-million-dollar hardware rollout that was intended to anchor their future consumer tech division. This public relations stalemate highlights the broader crisis facing the tech industry as a whole, which is running out of traditional spaces to monetize and is now desperately trying to colonize the human face as its next major advertising and data harvesting frontier. The integration of artificial intelligence that explicitly mimics the voice and personality of a celebrity represents another deeply complicated layer of this technological push, attempting to create a false sense of companionship and intimacy to distract users from the invasive data collection happening beneath the surface. By interacting with an AI that sounds like an iconic pop culture figure, the user is conditioned to lower their natural defenses, viewing the device as a fun, interactive toy rather than a sophisticated node in a vast corporate surveillance network designed to track behavior, mapping physical environments, and feed consumer data back into massive algorithms. The public resistance against the Meta Starfire glasses marks a potentially historic turning point where the sheer glamour of celebrity endorsement is no longer sufficient to blind the masses to the true cost of digital compliance. It demonstrates that citizens are beginning to reclaim their agency, using the very platforms